History is a story of moments, moments that seem ordinary at first, but upon closer inspection, reveal themselves as the hinges upon which the fate of nations turns. Each tick of the clock, each turn of a calendar page, carries the weight of choices made and paths not taken. Decisions, both grand and small, send ripples across time, shaping destinies far beyond their immediate reach. Like dominoes set in motion, one event triggers another and the world is forever changed. On September 1st, 1939, German forces invaded Poland, igniting World War II. The world watched in shock as the machinery of war rolled across borders and a new era of conflict began. Britain and France declared war, honoring their promises to Poland, yet their response was hesitant and slow, unable to halt the German advance or save a nation from occupation. The conflict that followed reshaped the globe, costing millions of lives and leaving scars that would last for generations. Cities were reduced to rubble, families torn apart, and the world order forever altered. But what if that day had played out differently? Imagine a September 1939 where Allied warnings are not just words, but are backed by immediate, decisive military action. What if the world's response was swift and united? Instead of a phony war, the Western Allies make it unmistakably clear. An attack on Poland means a real two-front war from day one. Troops mobilize, borders are fortified, and the world braces for a confrontation that could change everything. The invasion is halted before it can begin. German forces, faced with overwhelming resistance and the threat of immediate retaliation, pause at the border. The world stands on the edge of catastrophe, but for a moment history holds its breath. Across Europe, people anxiously await news. Radios crackle with updates, newspapers fly off the presses, and families gather in uncertainty. The world holds its breath, but war does not start, at least not yet. This single change doesn't prevent war, it only postpones it. The clock keeps ticking, but the storm is delayed, not averted. Soldiers remain on standby, and the world enters a tense, uneasy pause. Tensions and ambitions remain simmering for another year. Political leaders meet behind closed doors, alliances are tested, and the map of Europe is redrawn in anticipation of the inevitable conflict. Every major power, Germany, Britain, France, and the Soviet Union, gains 12 precious months to rearm, rethink, and prepare. Factories work around the clock, armies train relentlessly, and strategies are rewritten for the coming storm. The war is still coming, but it will be different. New weapons, new alliances, and new plans will shape the battles ahead. The world stands on the brink, changed by a single year of uneasy peace. The consequences of this one-year delay are immense, altering the fate of nations and the outcome of the global struggle. Borders shift, cities rise and fall, and the very fabric of history is rewoven. By exploring this alternate timeline, we see how fragile the moments were that shaped our own history. The pause of a single day, the delay of a single decision can echo through generations, reminding us that history is never inevitable. It is made moment by moment by the choices of those who live it. In our history, the guarantee to Poland was little more than a distant promise, words spoken in the halls of power, but lacking the force of true resolve. When the storm clouds gathered over Europe in 1939, many doubted whether Britain and France would truly risk everything for a nation so far away. But in this alternate timeline, the guarantee is not just a diplomatic gesture. It's a steel-clad commitment, forged in the fires of shared fear and determination. The alliance is public, unequivocal, and backed by immediate action. With Winston Churchill and other hawks at the helm, the British and French governments move with unprecedented speed. As German intentions become clear, mobilization is not just a show, it's a signal to the world that aggression will be met with force. Troop trains rumble through the countryside, and the streets of London and Paris buzz with the urgency of war preparations. RAF squadrons are dispatched across the Channel, landing on French airfields and preparing for immediate action. Pilots and ground crews work around the clock, their eyes fixed eastward, ready to strike at Germany at the first sign of aggression. French mobile divisions, including their most modern tanks and mechanized infantry, mass along the border. This time, they are not content to sit behind the Maginot Line. They prepare for a real offensive, determined to take the fight to the enemy if necessary. Allied commanders meet at the front, coordinating plans for a joint response. This is no bluff. It's a credible threat of a two-front war that Germany cannot ignore. The German High Command is shaken by the speed and scale of the Allied response. Their war games had not accounted for such unity and resolve from the West. Generals warn Hitler that Germany isn't ready for such a fight. The Wehrmacht is stretched thin, and the prospect of a two-front war is daunting even for the most optimistic planners. The risks are too great. The Western Front is dangerously exposed, and the hope for a quick victory in Poland evaporates. German soldiers dig in, uncertain and anxious, as maps reveal the vulnerabilities of their position. Even Hitler, ever the gambler, is forced to reconsider. The prospect of disaster looms large, and the confidence that once fueled his ambitions begins to waver. Reluctantly, he orders a stand-down. The invasion is postponed, and the German war machine grinds to a halt, at least for now. Across Europe and the world, people breathe a tense sigh of relief. Newspapers declare the crisis averted, but in homes and cafes, the sense of foreboding remains. Everyone knows this is only a pause before the inevitable storm. The crisis of 1939 ends not with a bang, but with uneasy silence. Streets are quiet, checkpoints are manned but calm, and the world waits, holding its breath. The countdown to war has merely been reset. The world stands on the edge, knowing that the next move could change history forever. For Hitler, the delay is humiliating, a blow to his image and authority. He vows that when war comes, Germany will be unstoppable. From September 1939 to 1940, Germany enters a period of total war preparation. Tank, aircraft and U-boat production is accelerated. Lessons from Spain are urgently applied. The Manstein Plan for France is perfected, and panzer divisions train relentlessly in blitzkrieg tactics. The Wehrmacht becomes even more formidable, but the economic strain is severe. Shortages of oil, rubber and steel worsen, forcing harsher exploitation of occupied territories. The need for conquest grows desperate. By summer 1940, Germany is more powerful and more desperate than ever. The stage is set for a war that must deliver swift, total victory. In Moscow, Stalin sees opportunity in the delay. The world holds its breath as the Soviet leader quietly recalculates his next move, watching the chaos unfold in Western Europe from the safety of the Kremlin. For Stalin, time is a rare and precious commodity, and now he has it. The Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact remains a non-aggression treaty, its secret protocols dormant. The agreement, signed in the shadow of suspicion, keeps the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany at arm's length, at least for now. Behind closed doors, both sides weigh their options, uncertain how long the uneasy peace will last. Stalin uses the extra year to rebuild the Red Army, reeling from purges, and to ramp up production of new tanks like the T-34 and KV-1. Soviet engineers work day and night, transforming outdated arsenals into modern war machines. Training camps fill with fresh recruits as the Red Army regains its strength and confidence. The Baltic states are pressured more subtly, and the winter war with Finland may be delayed or fought with greater caution. Soviet diplomats maneuver carefully, seeking to expand influence without provoking a wider conflict. Every move is calculated, every negotiation a test of patience and resolve. Stalin remains uncommitted, playing Germany and the Allies against each other. He listens to offers from both sides, never revealing his true intentions, always searching for the best advantage for the Soviet Union. He sells resources to Germany while building Soviet strength. Trains loaded with oil, grain and minerals cross the border, fueling the German war machine even as Soviet factories prepare for the possibility of war. The delay gives him time and options, waiting for the perfect moment to act. Stalin studies reports late into the night, surrounded by maps and advisors, determined not to be caught off guard again. His goal? Expand Soviet influence when the West and Germany are exhausted. He envisions a future where the Red Army advances into weakened territories, reshaping the balance of power in Europe. The Soviet Union watches, prepares and waits. Every border is guarded, every movement tracked, as Stalin's regime readies itself for whatever comes next. Stalin's patience is his greatest weapon. He knows that in the great game of empires, sometimes the wisest move is to wait, to let others exhaust themselves before striking. The chessboard of Europe is reset, with Stalin biding his time, every move calculated, every risk weighed. The Soviet calculus is cold, deliberate, and relentless. The extra year is a crucible of change, transforming the tools and tactics of war. Britain ramps up Spitfire and Hurricane production, perfects radar and strengthens air defences. France builds more advanced tanks but struggles to modernise its strategy. Germany develops longer-range bombers, more balanced panzer divisions and a larger U-boat fleet. The arms race creates a more dangerous, evenly matched battlefield. Both sides are more powerful and prepared. The War of 1940 will be fiercer, more mechanised and more destructive from the outset. The technological and doctrinal gap narrows, but the stakes only grow. When Germany attacks in spring 1940, it does so with overwhelming force. The plan is the same, a lightning thrust through the Ardennes. But the German army is stronger, its tactics perfected. The Allies are better equipped, but their flawed strategy remains. The main German attack achieves surprise, cutting off Allied armies. Battles are bloodier, with superior equipment on both sides. The BEF faces an even more desperate Dunkirk, if evacuation is possible at all. The Luftwaffe, now more lethal, hammers trapped soldiers and rescue ships. France falls quickly and decisively. Britain loses the core of its army. Britain stands alone, weaker than in our timeline. The Battle of Britain looms, with higher stakes and a more dangerous enemy. A swift German victory in France sends shockwaves worldwide. Mussolini, emboldened, joins the war sooner, threatening British positions in the Mediterranean. Japan eyes vulnerable European colonies in Asia, accelerating its expansionist plans. The US faces a crisis. With Britain on the brink, Roosevelt's push to aid the Allies intensifies, but isolationist opposition grows. Stalin, alarmed by German dominance, accelerates Soviet preparations. The non-aggression pact frays. The world becomes more volatile. The global balance of power teeters on a knife's edge. The altered war leads to a profoundly different post-war world. If Britain falls or sues for peace, Germany dominates Western Europe. Hitler can focus entirely on the Soviet Union, making the Eastern Front even more brutal. Germany, controlling Europe's resources, could achieve its initial goals in the East. The US might be limited to naval and air campaigns, with D-Day off the table. The atomic bomb's target could shift to Germany, ushering in a nuclear age born of desperation. If the Soviets prevail, they may be too exhausted to dominate Europe, or they might control it all. The post-war map is unrecognizable. Familiar alliances may never form. The world order we know could vanish before it ever began. Delaying World War II by a year transforms everything. The Allies act decisively, but the result is a fiercer, more destructive conflict. Blitzkrieg is perfected, and the margins for Allied survival shrink. A more complete German victory could create a fortress Europe nearly impossible to breach. This alternate history reveals how fragile our reality was, how close we came to a darker world. The Second World War's outcome was never inevitable. It was shaped by narrow margins and critical choices. The one-year delay exposes the contingency of history and the cost of every decision. Our present was built on the thinnest of threads, a reminder of what might have been.